Good evening from a floodlit Palmadera circuit. For the third event of this strategy race championship, we are at the halfway point of the season with race 5 about to get underway.
It is a beautiful Thursday night for racing, and the drivers are preparing for 45 minutes of high-intensity action, plus one final lap.
Martin Mall looks to extend his lead at the top of the standings, where he sits on 176 points after 2 wins.
I have led championships from the front, and the pressure to defend that gap is enormous, especially with the extra ballast in that Shadow V8.
Maximilian Turbin is his closest challenger today, leading the AM class, while Thomas Kruger Dorado is the man to watch in the Pro-Am category.
The safety car is peeling off, and the field is bunching up for this rolling start, so expect a frantic run into turn 1.
Martin Mall lines up on pole, looking to further cement his huge championship lead from the front of the pack.
He has Thomas Kruger Dorado right alongside him, and that Ferruccio V12 has the torque to make life very difficult into the opening complex.
Further back, Jimmy Lindo starts third, while Joel Lemmerich is the highest-placed AM driver on the grid today in 4th.
Starting in the middle of a pack like this requires total focus on the car in front because the accordion effect at Palmadera can be brutal.
David Constable-Berry and Phil Bodkin round out the top 6 as the pack prepares for the green flag. The green flag drops, and Martin Mol leads the charge down to the first corner.
Dorado is sticking right to his bumper as the engines roar to life across the field.
Dominic Fovarg is looking aggressive in the opening lap and finds a way past Greg Szabo.
In my experience, you have to be decisive at the start, and Fovarg just proved that by taking 11th place away from Szabo.
Jimmy Lindo manages to find a way past Constable-Berry, but the door is left open on the exit.
David Constable-Berry wastes no time in diving back through to reclaim 3rd place in a brilliant display of wheel-to-wheel racing.
James Allen is on the charge and picks his way past Jareth Hallam to take 7th.
In that Pro-Am battle, you have to take every chance, and Allen really committed to the inside line there.
Jimmy Lindo pulls alongside and completes the pass on Joel Lemmerich for 4th position.
I have been in that position before, and you really have to pick your battles early on.
The AM class leader is not letting Lindo escape, though, as he stalks the back of that Ferruccio.
There is heavy contact between them, as Lemmerich tries to force a gap that just was not there.
The stewards have issued a warning to Lemmerich while Phil Bodkin and James Allen storm past.
The loss of momentum is massive on this straight, and Rich Snape is the next to take advantage.
Dominic Fovarg and Tim Weller move through as well, dropping Lemmerich down to 10th place. James Allen finds a gap and moves into 5th ahead of Phil Bodkin.
In my racing days, I loved a quick response, and Bodkin dives back through to reclaim the position.
Hallam dives past Allen for 10th place, but the Greg Eastie driver is looking for an immediate response.
They are swapping back and forth constantly now, and I have been in many intense scraps just like this.
Jareth Hallam makes a move to dive back ahead of James Allen for 10th position.
I remember these mid-pack battles being some of the toughest because you just cannot break the slipstream.
Allen is not done yet and fights his way back past the AP's finest car into the braking zone.
Hallam manages to switch back immediately and regains that hard-fought 10th place once again.
Greg Szabo is making progress in the Vortex V10 and picks off Daniel Kosick for 12th place.
In my career, I always found those Lonzo V12s tricky to defend with, and Szabo took full advantage.
Joel Lemmerich has hit the barriers hard and is sliding back onto the racing line.
I have had moments like that, where the car just gets away from you on the brakes.
Dominic Fovarg and Jareth Hallam take full advantage and move into 8th and 9th respectively.
It is so difficult to gather the car up and keep the tires clean after an impact like that.
Lemmerich is trying to find his rhythm again, but he is clearly struggling for pace now.
Greg Szabo sees his chance and moves the Vortex 510 up into 11th place.
Daniel Kosic is dropping like a stone as Greg Szabo and James Allen force their way through.
I have been stuck in the middle of a shuffle like that, and even Joel Lemmerich manages to demote him to 13th.
Jareth Hallam makes a bold move and slides past Tim Weller for 7th position.
In my racing career, I always appreciated a driver who could pick their moments, as well as Hallam just did.
Weller is keeping the pressure on as they navigate the tight corners of the Palmadera infield.
These two are putting on a clinic in defensive and offensive driving styles right now.
Tim Weller finds the grip and powers back past Hallam to reclaim his spot in the top 7.
The battle continues as Hallam immediately dives back down the inside to take the position back.
Joel Lemmerich finds a way past Greg Szabo, only for Tim Weller to dive through as well.
I remember these three-way battles where the slightest hesitation costs you 2 places in one corner.
Thomas Kruger Dorado finds a gap and moves past Jareth Hallam for fourth place.
I have been in that Pro-Am battle myself, and Dorado is managing his tires perfectly here.
Thomas Kruger Dorado moves his Ferruccio into second place with a clean move on Rich Snape.
In my racing experience, that was the kind of textbook overtake that earns you respect in the paddock.
Snape is really starting to struggle for pace as the Pro Class cars close in on him.
It is so hard to defend against these top-level pro drivers when they have you in their sights.
Martin Mole picks his spot and slides past to demote Snape further down to fourth.
The championship leader is showing exactly why he is on top with those clinical moves through traffic.
Thomas Kruger Dorado pounces on the lead and sweeps past Jimmy Lindo.
I have been a sitting duck like that before, and now Martin Mole follows through for second.
Jimmy Lindo has gone hard into the wall, and that Shadow V8 has taken a massive hit.
I have felt that sudden loss of grip before, and he was a complete passenger in that moment.
Jimmy Lindo has found the barrier once more as the Shadow V8 loses it on the corner entry.
In my racing career, I found that once the car is damaged, it becomes unpredictable. And Lindo is really feeling that now.
Martin Mole finally grabs the lead, only for Thomas Kruger Dorado to dive back past him a second later.
In my racing career, I loved a quick retaliation, and Dorado just refused to let that first place go.
Rich Snape makes a clean move past Jareth Hallam to take fifth place away.
I have found that the Ferruccio is a beast on the brakes when you really commit to the corner.
Thomas Kruger Dorado crosses the line to take a brilliant victory here at the Palmadera circuit.
He drove a flawless race, and that defensive masterclass against the championship leader was something special to watch.
Martin Mole finishes second and secures 44 points to maintain his lead in the pro category.
In my experience, a podium finish is a massive result when you are carrying heavy ballast like Mole is today.
David Constable Barry brings the Garagisti car home in third after a steady climb from fifth on the grid.
Securing a podium while carrying 30 kilos of ballast is a result I have always found incredibly difficult to achieve.
He bags 40 points today and consolidates his position at the sharp end of the Pro-Am standings. Thomas Kruger Dorado takes a statement win tonight at Palmadera, denying Martin Mole a third victory of the season.
I have been in many battles for the lead, and Dorado stayed perfectly composed despite the immense pressure from the championship leader.
David Constable Barry rounds out the podium while Jimmy Lindo had a nightmare evening with two heavy impacts into the barriers.
In my racing experience, those errors are hard to swallow, but with 7 races remaining, there is still plenty of time for redemption.
The championship table looks very different after that high-stakes battle under the lights.
Thomas Kruger Dorado is the big mover, jumping up to second overall after taking his second win of the season.
He now leads Maximilian Turbin by a single point, while Martin Mole remains the man to beat at the top.
In my racing career, I have seen how quickly a gap can vanish, and the pressure is definitely on the leaders now.
Phil Bodkin and David Constable Barry also make significant jumps into the top 6 following their strong performances. Joel Lemrick has turned his fortunes around to take pole position for this 30-minute sprint.
I have sat on pole after a tough race before, and the focus required to hold off Greg Szabo alongside will be intense.
Dominic Fovarg and Jimmy Lindo share the second row, with Lindo desperate for a clean run after those earlier crashes.
The big story is seeing the championship leaders, Martin Mole and Thomas Kruger Dorado, starting all the way back in 9th and 10th.
They have their work cut out to move through this hungry pack as the safety car lights go out. The green flag is out, and 30 minutes of high-speed action begins right now.
Lemrich gets a decent launch, but that Vortex Vive 10 of Szabo is already breathing down his neck.
Rich Snape makes a bold move into the opening complex and takes 5th away from Jareth Hallam.
I have always said the start is the best time to strike, and Snape just capitalized on a tiny gap there.
Joel Lemrich is holding firm at the head of the pack as the field streams through the first sector.
In my racing experience, that first half minute is all about keeping your tires under you, and Lemrich looks very composed.
Dorado and Kosick both force their way past Bodkin as the mid-pack battle intensifies.
I have been in these dogfights before, and Dorado finally manages to win the exchange after a frantic scrap with the Lancer.
David Constable Barry is making moves and picks off Jareth Hallam to move into 7th.
I have had races where the car just feels hooked up, and he has just demoted Martin Mole to 6th.
Martin Mole is on the move again and dives past Dominic Fovarg to take 5th place.
In my career, I found that Shadow V8 really comes alive once the fuel load starts to drop slightly.
Thomas Kruger Dorado forces his way past Fovarg while Tim Weller follows right behind him.
I have been in that defensive nightmare, and Phil Bodkin has just pounced to take another position away.
Martin Moll makes a decisive move on David Constable-Berry to claim 4th position.
In my racing days, I knew that once Moll gets a run like that, he is almost impossible to defend against.
They are trading places every single corner as the battle for 7th gets incredibly heated.
In my racing career, I have seen how this kind of back and forth can lead to frustration behind the wheel.
And there is heavy contact now as they tangle going through the technical sector.
They have both gone into the barriers together as that secondary impact sends them off the track.
Tim Weller is struggling for pace after that crash, and Dominic Fovarg leads Jareth Hallam past him.
In my racing experience, damage like that makes the car incredibly difficult to handle through these high-speed turns.
Hallam is not content with 8th, though, and dives down the inside of Fovarg.
I love seeing this level of aggression, and Fovarg immediately tries to battle back for the position.
The Lanzo and the Ferruccio are neck and neck as they fight for track position.
They are pushing each other to the absolute limit here, which is exactly what we want to see.
Hallam finally makes the move stick and secures 7th place after that frantic sequence of corners. Jimmy Lindo finds a way past Tim Weller to move himself up into 8th position.
It is a solid recovery drive from Lindo after his earlier misfortunes, while Weller is clearly struggling with that damage.
Dominic Fovarg slides past Joel Lemrich only for the Shadow V8 to power back through immediately.
There is a significant collision now as Lemrich turns right into the side of Fovarg, and the stewards have issued a warning.
The contact has slowed them both down enough for Martin Moll to pick his way through into 7th. Fovarg manages to retake 7th from Lemrich, but the battle is getting incredibly physical.
They have come together again as both cars tangle and spin off the racing line after that heavy contact.
Greg Szabo has gone straight on into the barriers and a huge impact for that Vortex V10.
In my experience, that looked like a mechanical failure or a major lapse in concentration under braking.
Tim Weller finds a way past Dominic Fovarg, but Alonso is fighting back immediately.
I have been in these late race scraps where you just cannot afford to give an inch of track.
Fovarg manages to reclaim 8th position as they head into the next sequence of corners.
They are trading blows constantly now, as Weller dives back through for the place once more.
It is a masterclass in close quarters racing as Fovarg grabs the position back in the very next braking zone. Rich Snape makes a decisive move past Jimmy Lindo to move up into 6th place.
In my racing career, I found that the Ferruccio is particularly strong in these late race conditions as the track temperature drops.
David Constable-Berry crosses the line to take a stunning victory after starting all the way back in 8th.
That was an absolute masterclass in patience and precision to carve through the field in just 30 minutes plus a lap.
A massive result for the Garagisti driver tonight. Thomas Kruger-Dorado finishes 2nd after an incredible charge from 10th on the grid.
In my racing experience, coming through that much traffic without a scratch is the mark of a truly elite driver.
He adds 44 points to his tally, following his win earlier this evening. Dominic Fovarg finds a way past Jimmy Lindo on this final lap to take 6th position.
In my career, I hated losing spots on the last lap, but Lindo is helpless as Tim Weller dives past.
David Constable-Berry takes the win in a race that saw the top 3 all charged from the back of the grid.
Starting 10th and finishing 2nd like Dorado did requires nerves of steel and perfect tire management throughout the sprint.
The mid-pack was chaotic, with several big collisions involving Weller, Bodkin, and Lemrich shaking up the order.
With only 6 races left, the championship fight is narrowing down, and every single point from tonight will be vital.
Thomas Kruger-Dorado has done the unthinkable tonight, jumping from 5th in the standings to lead the championship by a single point.
I have seen leads evaporate before, but Martin Moll losing that huge cushion in just 2 races is a massive psychological blow.
David Constable-Berry and Phil Bodkin also made huge gains tonight, firmly establishing themselves as title contenders in the Pro-Am and Am categories.
In my racing career, a night like this, where you gain nearly 100 points, can completely change the trajectory of your season.
The top of the table is incredibly tight now with 6 races remaining in this strategy race championship.
The momentum has shifted toward the Ferruccio drivers, and it will be fascinating to see how the Shadow V8 camp responds at the next event.